Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Q in Charge. I'm your host, Joe, the Q, and today we're jumping into a topic that's both fascinating and, let me tell you, downright frustrating. The process of getting electric vehicle infrastructure up and running. Now, you'd think installing a charging station would be a pretty straightforward task, right? After all, it's 2024, and we're living in a time where innovation should make everything simpler. Well, think again. It turns out that installing one of these stations isn't as easy as just placing it on the ground, running a couple of wires, energizing it, plugging it in, and calling it a day. You see, behind every electric vehicle charge station is a complex web of bureaucratic red tape, utility delays, endless permits, and a whole bunch of hoops you've got to jump through just to get started. And that's before we even talk about things like city regulations, labor shortages, or keeping the customer happy at the end of the day. Sound fun yet? Yeah, it's anything but simple. So today we're peeling back the curtain on the hidden obstacles and going over some tough questions. Why does something that should take weeks end up taking months or even years? And more importantly, how can we make this process smoother as the demand for electric vehicles skyrockets? Let's break it all down and figure out where the system's breaking down and how we can fix it. Buckle up, because this is going to be one charged up conversation. So today's episode is more of a mix of the contractor stories out there and my personal thoughts and experience in this industry. One of the biggest bottlenecks in installing electric vehicle charging stations is the lengthy permitting and utility approval process. Ideally, after scoping out a location, you would think installation could begin promptly. However, the reality is far more complicated, often taking anywhere from 8 to 12 months, sometimes longer, just to secure the necessary permits and approval. Why such a drawn-out process? Well, the core of the issue lies in the fragmented nature of regulations across cities, counties, and utility companies. Each entity has its own set of rules, requirements, and timelines, making the process highly inconsistent depending on the location. Take California, for example. As one of the most electric vehicle-friendly states, California has implemented its best management practice guide to streamline the permitting process. This guide encourages local governments to expedite permits by setting clear timelines, providing checklists, and reducing unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles. Even with this leaner approach, it takes several months. In contrast, many other states have not adopted such streamlined practices, leading to significant delays. For instance, in some areas, local permitting departments may lack the knowledge or resources to handle electric vehicle infrastructure projects efficiently, causing further delays. In these less organized states, electric vehicle projects can be delayed by several months just because the permit reviewers are unfamiliar with what's required or what codes to implement to the design, leading to constant back and forth communication with contractors and project managers. Online permitting is beneficial in some states and counties, but it still takes a very long time to get it resolved or to get simple feedback because you have no one to call. In some places, you need to apply personally or by mail, which even further delays the process. It can be an absolute nightmare, and most people are getting discouraged due to the complexity of the process and the officials, making it even more difficult for everyone. Then there's the issue of coordinating with utility companies. After obtaining local permits, we often need to connect with power companies to handle things like transformer installations or grid hookups. But this is where things get even more complicated. You would expect a relatively simple task like designing a pad-mounted transformer, which typically sits only a few feet from the nearest power pole, to be completed within a week. Yet it often takes months. Utilities frequently cite workload, engineering backlogs, or even staff shortages as reasons for the delay. But the truth is that these technical tasks are routine for them. In many cases, they've done similar installations hundreds, if not thousands of times before. So why the holdup? It often boils down to internal inefficiencies within the utility companies themselves, inefficiencies that project managers have little control over. The consequences of these delays extend beyond mere inconvenience. We're not just talking about lost time, we're talking about real financial costs. Every day spent waiting for permit approvals or utility designs is another day of project inactivity, which leads to dissatisfied clients and significant revenue loss. In an industry as dynamic and competitive as electric vehicle infrastructure, where speed and efficiency are key to success, these drawn-out processes can be disastrous for both the companies involved and the clients, depending on the infrastructure. Not only do these delays strain the relationship between contractors and clients, but they also slow the broader rollout of electric vehicle charging stations, delaying the transition to clean energy. This adds further pressure on businesses trying to stay competitive in a fast-moving industry while also meeting the increasing demand for accessible electric vehicle charging. People who are in charge of these approvals need to understand one basic thing: chargers are just intelligent, high-tech wall outlets. There is no difference between running the outlet in your home or running the wires for the chargers. It comes only to the size of the pipes, wires, and the size of utility types of equipment. We did not reinvent the wheel. It is simple electrical work, and we are going under the process like we are building a full-on building structure. It makes no sense at all what is asked for to comply with this permitting process. I will admit it takes more than just running a couple of pipes and wires, but still, if it takes between 1 to 3 weeks to install an average size electric vehicle infrastructure from start to finish, and about a year to get neurocritical paperwork so that you do something, it makes seriously no sense. We need a drastic change in this process. Now, once you fought through the permitting jungle, the next hurdle is arguably just as challenging: finding skilled labor. Across the US, especially in states like Texas, Florida, and California, the electric vehicle industry is facing a significant labor shortage, a matter of fact in any trade. While the demand for electricians and other skilled workers is expected to rise sharply, the reality is that there simply aren't enough qualified professionals to keep up with the growth of the electric vehicle sector. The electrician or electrical contractors are also busy with their project. Electrification is not only an electric vehicle sector. There are a lot of other projects that, when they are already busy, will just not be available, and in some recent instances, they lose interest in doing it due to the permitting and approval processes being too long for short projects. They rather go under this rigorous process on larger projects that they will be busy for several months or several years, instead of 2 or 3 weeks of the project and then a new permitting nightmare. This shortage doesn't just impact the electric vehicle industry, but spills over into other critical sectors like housing and commercial construction, creating intense competition for skilled labor. As a result, finding workers who are not only qualified but also knowledgeable about the intricacies of electric vehicle infrastructure becomes a daunting task. Electricians specializing in traditional residential or commercial work often don't have the expertise needed for electric vehicle charger installations, which require a deep understanding of specific electrical loads, smart grid integration, and new technologies like vehicle-to-grid systems. On top of all, they need to know all the new codes that will apply to the project and try to predict the ones they will come up with out of a blue, or just simply inspectors' code interpretation is different than of the other. You are stuck with them, fighting over who is right. Before we get it going on, word from our sponsor. There are so many questions and uncertainty, but it is all achievable. Just find the right partners that will provide that help. One of them is QCharge. Simply visit www.qcharge123.com. So we suggest you simply download their app today, QCharge. Powering your journey one charge at a time. Let us continue where we stop. The challenge isn't just in finding these workers, but also in retaining them as wages in competing industries continue to rise in response to the overall labor shortage. This shortage causes delays in projects, stretching timelines and driving up costs. And it's not just about having enough people on the ground. Licensing is another significant roadblock. In the US, we have the National Electrical Code, which is supposed to provide a consistent framework for electrical work nationwide. However, despite this national standard licensing requirement, vary dramatically from state to state. In some cases, we have highly experienced electricians who are fully licensed in one state, but are unable to work in another because of local licensing restrictions. This inconsistency is creating bottlenecks, wasting valuable time, and most critically preventing crucial electric vehicle infrastructure projects from moving forward as quickly as they should, as we are hoping to achieve the numbers of chargers out there to give the needed support to the electric vehicle owners. We need to push for more streamlined, uniform licensing processes across states, especially as the electric vehicle infrastructure boom accelerates and is not limited to. The concept of interstate license reciprocity would allow electricians to move seamlessly between states, just like drivers can use their licenses across state lines without issue. Electricity in the US is the same in all states, so why do we not have just one type of licensing? And this goes for all other trades too. We do construction in the US for many trades the same way. This approach could significantly ease the labor shortage, allowing qualified workers to move where they are most needed and allowing projects to get off the ground faster. In the face of rising demand, being able to tap into a broader labor pool will be critical to the electric vehicle sector's success. Imagine a future where electricians could transfer their licenses as easily as we transfer our driver's licenses when we move. This is the kind of forward-thinking solution that could help solve the labor crisis in the electric vehicle industry and all others as well. Even after navigating the endless delays from utilities and dealing with labor shortages, one of the most complex challenges remains customer satisfaction. And trust me, this is no small feat. It's much like trying to govern a kingdom where every subject has a different expectation, some impossible to meet, others in direct conflict with each other. Just as no king could ever satisfy all his subjects, we often find ourselves in the same position when managing our projects. Instead, let me paint a clearer picture. No matter how detailed the planning or the precise execution, there's always someone who isn't completely satisfied. Sometimes it's due to misunderstandings. Maybe the client didn't fully grasp how long the process would take or didn't anticipate the stages involved. Other times it's about aesthetic or operational expectations. They may have envisioned the final product looking or functioning differently than what was done as the final product, despite providing a clear outline from the beginning. In the realm of electric vehicle charging infrastructure, this isn't unusual. Many people are still relatively new to the technology, and they have varying levels of understanding about how it works and what's involved in setting up a functional high-performance station. But the challenges don't stop there. Believe it or not, there are people who are fundamentally opposed to electric vehicles and everything they represent. These individuals often see electric vehicles as a threat to their way of life or the industries they support, like oil and gas. We've even encountered cases where charging stations were vandalized, tampered with, or damaged intentionally by people who hold personal grudges against the shift towards clean energy. This sabotage can be subtle, like unplugging cables, or more severe, resulting in broken components that disrupt service. In some instances, it's a reflection of broader societal resistance to change. So how do we manage this delicate balancing act? Well, the human element is unpredictable while we can control the technical aspects of the installation. Ensuring customer satisfaction is much more nuanced. People are emotional, and expectations are often shaped by personal experiences and preconceived notions. Some clients might feel that their electric vehicle chargers should perform exactly like the gas stations they're used to, with immediate functionality and no downtime. Others may not realize the steps involved in creating a network that's reliable and ready for scale. However, the solution lies in clear, ongoing communication. The more we engage with our clients early on, the better we can manage expectations. It's crucial to educate them about the complexities we face, delays, licensing, workforce issues, so they understand that some hurdles are beyond our control. When people are informed, they're more likely to be patient and satisfied with the end result. Of course, we're never going to make everyone happy. That's just a reality of any business, especially one as dynamic and new as the electric vehicle industry. But For every detractor or unhappy client, there are dozens more who will benefit from the work we're doing. And that's what keeps us pushing forward. Ultimately, satisfaction in this field comes down to managing not just projects, but emotions and perceptions. It's about building trust and transparency so that even when things don't go as planned, our clients know we've done everything in our power to deliver the best product possible. We can't eliminate the frustrations, but we can navigate them with empathy, professionalism, and a focus on the bigger picture. So, what's the big takeaway here? First and foremost, the process needs to be simplified. We can't have a situation where something as critical as electric vehicle charging infrastructure takes months or even years to get off the ground. It simply makes no sense to go through months of rigorous permitting process so that you do the work for only 2 weeks and then all over again. The demand for electric vehicles is only going to grow, and our infrastructure needs to keep pace with that. We need to streamline permitting, cut through the bureaucratic delays, and address the labor shortages that are holding us back. And that's not just a regional issue. It's a national one. If we can create a unified, streamlined approach to licensing, we can make sure that skilled workers can move across state lines with ease and efficiency, helping us get chargers installed faster and more reliably. But beyond that, the solution to all of these challenges really comes down to 2 words: collaboration, not competition. This isn't just a problem for one sector to solve. It requires governments, utilities, private companies, and local communities to come together and push for change. We need policies that work in sync with each other. Utilities need to step up and be more responsive, and the private sector needs to keep innovating and finding ways to speed up the process. We can't afford to let these delays continue, not when the stakes are so high. Clean energy and sustainable transportation are the future, and every day of delay puts us further behind. But if we collaborate and all play our part, we can overcome these hurdles and build the electric vehicle infrastructure this country needs. Thank you for tuning in today. If you've experienced any of these challenges yourself or have ideas on how we can push the needle forward, I'd love to hear from you. Let's continue the conversation. And hey, don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with anyone who's passionate about clean energy and the future of transportation. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay charged, stay committed, and let's keep moving forward. Over and out.